Won't you make up your mind? 'Cause I'm getting tired of overthinking every move you make. And I can help you decide who you're loving now, and how I'm not quite there somehow. My intuition says to give you up, but my heart can't easily let go.
So today, let's get the So yesterday I finally started building the alleyway for my Japanese scene. I really like this look. And I'm gonna continue on this. So today I'm gonna look at the ground creator. Instead of a very specific ground creator, I might want something like a grid, a general grid creator, because I'm not just creating a grid of the ground. When you look at a city, you know, a lot of the things, a lot of the objects, the landmarks that you see are in a straight line or in some sort of a formation, some sort of grid. So, not just the ground creator, but I might have something like the grid creator. So let's say I have something abstract. It's a grid. And let's see what we got going here. I think the important part is how you get the gap, the delta. What do you call this? So you might have something like get x delta or x gap, the gap between each of the objects. It's going to be a float. You also get the z value. So in this case, probably have to look at the prefab individually. Let's say you're inheriting from the grid creator. In every grid creator, oh wait, this, can we do this? We would have some sort of a prefab that we want to instantiate. Hello, random bloke. Welcome. I'm doing well. What day is it today for me? Holy shit, it's already Thursday. Huh. Felt like a Monday, but it's a Thursday. You might notice that I barely keep track of time. But I hope you're doing well. I think I'm doing reasonably okay. So back to what I was doing. Where's the ground creator? I thought you could instantiate a prefab. No? You have to load it? A little strange. Okay, so this should work. Okay, I'm gonna change the music. The audio level just goes way too much up and down for this playlist. What do they have? What happened to all their playlist? No? So I'm gonna pick something called NCS releases. Hope this is good. Let me shuffle this. All right, so back to developing. It's been so long that I've instantiated something, or it's been so long that I wrote any piece of code for instantiating something. I forgot the syntax. Okay, I hope this works. And it looks like it does. Okay. Definitely works. So now that we have a direct reference to the prefab, I don't need this. Then we just create a prefab. Maybe we should initiate. Maybe we should have some sort of an initiator. Oh shit, shit. Where's it? Where's this thing going? Do we even need the dummy anymore? Or maybe we do. And we get rid of the dummy later. I'll do that in the initializer. The dummy's gone. Wait. So this ground creator should have a box collider. So let's put the dummy in the initiator. We also get the box collider. And what else are we doing? So this is the X gap by default 0. We also get the Z gap, which is also 0. At the end, we destroy the dummy. Destroy dummy. Okay, before initialize, we clear everything. Your previous initialize. Then we do the thing. So we look at the dummy. The box collider size. I'm doing exactly the same thing. Create grid. Create grid. Haven't done this yet, but I hope this works. There we go. Works like a charm. So this part so this is X. Get the dummy scale and the box collider and return X. So here, I'll just say get X gap. Where's the Z? Z is here. So this is Z. Get it from the dummy. Return that value. Just get rid of it. So that's Z. Okay, looks good. Yep. So now, this thing not specific. This be abstract. Forgot how the syntax goes. Abstract. Do we override? Looks like it. Let's also override the initializer, or init. Okay, this is the same for every grid. There we go. I think we're done. Doesn't look too bad. So now I want to apply the same idea to the lamp, to the sidewalk. So those two are the only things I can think of right now, but let me look at the Japanese street again, the original Japanese street. Again, it's taking pretty long to load. Still waiting. All right. Okay, so we got these little fences. They're definitely in some sort of a grid or a single straight line. Got these little benches and trash cans and these things. These power lines. The buildings are in a straight line, but obviously these are different buildings. Maybe I could randomize that. Or not. Got the fences, the bench, the trash can, the walls. Okay. I kind of like this little area here. It's like a... For some reason, this looks very Asian to me. Okay. I wonder if I should scale the light here, the post. Because I scaled the buildings. Maybe I should scale this too. I'll leave it for now. Not too bad. Okay, you know what? Probably want to scale everything. Okay. Looks like that's applied. I'm gonna delete this anyways. So I'm gonna try to create some sort of a street lamp creator. Some sort of a lamp creator that inherits from the ground creator. Okay. So I've got the ground creator working. Let's see. So theoretically, if I have something like z count 1, x count 10, gap, z gap is 0, x gap is something like 5. I was gonna say this should work, but it's not gonna work. Because I haven't defined how to create a grid yet. But this could be virtual. Let's see if this works. Let's see if I can do this in Odin. If this is gone, it's still gonna work. Looks like it. So that works, which is nice. All this stuff is gone. We're left with just a few things that define the specifics of whether it's a street lamp creator or a ground creator, whatever it is. Just defining just the little details. So we get the dummy. Okay. Make sure it's all saved. So if I do this, or not the ground creator, the lamp. If I do this, yes, we get 10 lamps. Very nice. Say I don't want it on the Z. I want it on... Well, I don't want it on X, I want it on Z. Instead of 5, if I say 10 meters, or something like 15. Wait. Or are we getting the error message? Or is this null? Oh, Wait. No, this is right. Looks like right. Or are we also getting the tiles? No, don't give me a loading now. calling it a tile. Okay. Shouldn't call it a tile. Just confusing. Grid object. A little weird. Hmm. Oh, okay, okay. Right. Finally. So how should I do this? It's already destroyed. It's already destroyed because we destroyed a parent. I'll just put a null check here. So that should fix it. There we go. So now we're creating a lamppost. Accept. Let's rotate it by 90. There we go. I'll say -90. Just because I want to. And I can duplicate this. Do I want to... $180? I guess that's fine. So the individual lamps we don't need. We just have lamp creators. Maybe I'll even write code that makes it parallel. For now, I think this is good enough. So we got the lamp, the ground, the Kura tree. Should be all static. I also need code to make it automatically all static. I'll do more of the details later. Hello, Bidney. Welcome. I hope you're enjoying your Wednesday or Thursday.
In the corner of the room, not ready to resume, 'cause like I'm taking. Don't wanna be alone, but I'm not in the zone. I'm looking for somebody. I'm looking for somebody.
For those that just got here, I've now created a sidewalk creator, a lamp creator, ground creator, but they're all part of the grid creator where I just instantiate a bunch of objects in a straight line or in a grid. Because that's how most cities are built, I believe. So I'm gonna bake it now. Just to see what it looks like. Even though it's probably gonna look more or less the same from what I see in the scene view right now. And once I keep building on top of this, I mean, this was not even the goal, but maybe I could expand this into some sort of a city generator. But that's just brainstorming. I don't have any specific plans for that kind of things. Okay. So it looks like things are working pretty well. Let me just play the game. Everything should be pretty normal. Need Steam. I should fix this. I shouldn't check in the right in the beginning of the game. I should say something like if you're actually I plan on launching this on Steam, so most people are not going to run this without Steam. So maybe I don't even care. And the game should work. It's normal. I want to see the... Huh, interesting. So if you were here last night, I was talking about this little bump here. But looks like the bump is so small that my rigid body character controller just walks right through it. And you see the bump. I mean, you feel the... Well, I don't know the word, but... I felt that as I was playing it. There's like a little friction going on. Where's my character? Where's my character? There we go. Oh. So there is a little bump here, even though that was not part of the code. Because this is a capsule, it's round, it just goes right up there. Because the bump is not high enough to stop you. What if I go diagonally? Okay. It's brown, so it shouldn't make a difference. Bitney says, we're shipping the vertical slice for publishers in the next week, and of course Unity keeps crashing and preventing from build. Vertical slice? I would assume you're talking about a hyper casual where you're slicing an object. Something like that. I've played a game where all you're doing is tapping to get the right timing to slice a tower, and you just keep going. Or actually, that wasn't slicing, you were adding. So I guess what you're talking about is exactly the opposite, but I wish you luck. I mean, when you say crashing, I don't know what you're talking about, because Unity does crash every once in a while, but I don't think I've seen it so bad that it prevents you from building getting the final build. So most likely, I mean, it's hard to say without looking at a project, the specific project, but if it's crashing that often, it's probably got to do with your settings. But anyways, I'm really happy that this is working. And this is also one of the things why I like the rigid body character controller. Even though it might look like a lot of work in the beginning, I think later there's actually less things for you to define than the Unity character controller. But that also depends on what kind of game you're building. For most of my games, I mean, I have a tendency, I mean, everybody does, there's things that people like in certain game designs that people go for. So for most of my games, rigid body character controller works pretty well. Just like what you saw just now. I'm gonna commit everything. Let me Google vertical slice. I would also assume it's a mobile game. Whitney says vertical slice is like demo, which have all the mechanics inside and can show all scope of. Oh, okay, okay. Okay. I thought you were literally referring to some sort of a game. But yeah, I understand you now. Okay. So all my assumptions were wrong. It's a demo basically. Interesting. Actually, let me watch a few more minutes of this video. Not getting the sound. They're just talking about it. So basically, it's just a demo. It pretty much should show you, theoretically, all of the components that are included in your game. Interesting. Cautious Cargo, hello. Who is this idiot? Crystal Guardian. Shiny is when light reflects off of something. Glowing is a word you want to use for this effect. That's the kind of stupid shit you're gonna say. What an idiot. Oh, he even deleted his comment. Not even there anymore. Let me reply to the other comment. Alright, so back to what I was doing. What's next? Alright. Cautious? I hope you speak English, because I can't go through Google Translate every time somebody speaks in Spanish. What is it like to be a game developer? What is it like? An interesting question. Fun is all I can say. I think there's a giant difference between being hired to work for a large corporation that makes video games versus being an indie game developer that just works on whatever you want. There's also game developers that are somewhere in between the two I just described. There's also smaller studios that are larger than a typical indie game developer, but still a lot smaller than something like a AAA studio. So it depends. But generally, I would guess the only reason why you want to be a game developer is because you really enjoy gaming and you like it, and you just think it's interesting to be able to build your own game. That's how I got started. But then sometimes I see people come into my Discord server and saying they just got started. They decided they want to be a game developer yesterday, and today they're looking to ship a AAA game that's going to give them $1 million. That's probably not going to happen. Yeah, Bidney says our project is somewhat big. We have about 1.25 terabytes of graphics assets. That's giant. Yeah. I was thinking of something else when you said vertical slice. Bidney says Unity gets crashes because of RAM overflow or other strange memory leaks. We're creating AAA games, so sometimes it's hard to work on Unity, not on custom engine. It's horrible. Yeah. I would guess you're building for PC. I mean, if you're having that much assets, but then that's also a vertical slice, which means it's a small part of your game. Also, I think when people say AAA games, I think that term is really overused. Do you have a link or some sort of preview video or anything that I can refer to? Okay, more Spanish coming up. Since I don't have too many people, I can manually go through Google Translate. These are interesting questions. So Cautious says, who inspired you to become a game developer? Sorry if I'm making too much, I'm just really curious. That's a really interesting question. I would guess John Romero. I mean, I grew up playing Doom, Wolfenstein, Super Mario. What's the guy's name? The guy the game designer for Super Mario. Forgot his name. Yamamoto or something? Oh, Miyamoto. Okay. Shigeru Miyamoto. So it's this guy. This guy right here. Also, John Carmack. Everybody knows John Carmack. He created stuff like Doom and Dangerous Dave. Was it? Yeah, I literally grew up playing these games, so. There was also a guy, I forgot his name. I believe he was Vietnamese, the guy who created Action Quake and then moved on to create Counter-Strike. That was also really inspiring. I grew up playing many different mods for Quake. And of course, my favorite mod was Action Quake 2, to be exact. There is no Action Quake 1. Action Quake 2 is a mod for a Quake 2 game. So 2 just gets added there. But yeah, I grew up playing around with the mods. I always like to change your weapon skins, your character skins, different sound files. And just by changing what goes on the outside, not necessarily the source code, the game looks completely different. Like I would have some sort of a special forces mod for Counter-Strike, for example, that would make the characters look slightly more modern at the time. They would look more like the special forces guys that you see in movies. Not that movies are accurate, but they're just interesting. So I would say most likely John Carmack. Even though I barely know anything about John Carmack, I just grew up playing Doom and Quake and all of those games and mods. That was really interesting. And he says Unity is great for small projects. Otherwise, you need to build whole infrastructure and tools for maintaining the game production. Our game is unannounced yet. Oh, my question is, why are you even using Unity? For indies, I think it's a great choice. It does have its shortcomings. It does have its Unity's, well, I guess you can say that about any other general engine. Unity is bloated. There's a lot of stuff that you don't need but still is there that you still have to navigate through. But that's just what happens when you try to make everybody happy. Small projects is also a term that's very relative. Because I know plenty of studios that use Unity for MMO. A giant MMO where thousands of people play at the same time and they make billions of dollars. So that's definitely not a small project. And those studios are still using Unity, which means, which is a counterexample to what you just said. So I would say it depends. I'm not saying that you're wrong or anything, but you know, it depends. You have to look at it case by case. And if you look at my project, for example, I mean, this is giant compared to a mobile game, but it's tiny compared to a AAA title from EA, for example. It's all relative, and it depends on what you're doing, I have to say. But hey, since you said AAA, Mr. Bidney, I think I really want to see once your game is announced. Because once you say AAA, there's going to be massive hype. So people are going to compare your game to a typical Call of Duty series or any one of those giant projects with a giant budget that look good. But a lot of them also flop, even though they invested millions of dollars, like Battlefield recently. So I'm really looking forward to what you're building. I hope you can at least give me the genre of the game. Is it an FPS game? Is it an MMO? Or is it something like a GTA kind of thing? RTS, maybe? Okay, more Spanish. Oh, adios. I think I understand that. Okay, I'm going to get sick. See you on the next broadcast because I have to go. Bye. I also have a great day and stay safe. Bye. Yeah, cautious. I hope you have a great day. Good night. Okay, let me save everything first. Oh no. Okay. Bidney says single player action RPG for PC and next gens. That's really interesting. I think the last AAA title that's somewhat similar to what you just described would be what's the title? It was a PS4 game. Wait, it's not Event Horizon. That's a movie. Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah, I think that's the full name. Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah. I don't know why I thought of Event Horizon. Whenever I see the word Horizon, I think of that movie. That movie was interesting. Okay. Whitney says something between Witcher 3 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That like anything resembling Assassin's Creed and Witcher is a giant project. Can you tell me the publisher at least? Maybe you can't, which is fine. You don't have to answer me. But the last game, the last AAA title that I really enjoyed was Horizon Zero Dawn. I really enjoyed that game. Okay, let me look at games published by Sony. I think I generally like Sony. Not necessarily everything that they do, but yeah, Days Gone, The Predator. What is this? What is a Predator? Guns Up? What is this? Interesting. So Uncharted is coming for 2022. Interesting. But Bentley, I hope you let me know once your game is published. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting. Okay, let me try importing another building. Let's see. Let me try importing building 6. Just one more. Yeah. Give a Steam link or anything's good. Where's building 6? Building 6. Scale is 1.2. 2. So I'm gonna place this building right next to the existing one. That's how the original author did it. Looks like it's slightly behind. There we go. We also look at all the mesh colliders. We're probably not going to need them. Get rid of those things. So we've got building 4, 5, 6. It doesn't look too bad. We also got more fake interior. 0.8. Interesting. Let me also Google AAA titles done with Unity. Not a lot. I'm seeing way smaller games already. Yeah, these I'm looking at things like Cuphead, Hollow Knight, Escape from Tarkov. This one, I mean, these are not exactly AAA. I mean, it's a rough. Hearthstone. Oh yeah. Fallout Shelter. Pillars of Eternity. Never heard of this game, but I mean, I've seen mobile games that look better than some of these quote AAA games. So it's a very rough term. I mean, roughly, loosely defined term. But generally, when I think of AAA, I think of something like the latest photorealistic graphics, something like that, or like when I think of AAA, immediately I start thinking of things like Battlefield, Horizon Zero Dawn, you know, those giant titles that pretty much everybody's heard of. But there's also local South Korean titles that nobody's heard of, but are still massive. It's mostly played in my cities. A lot of them are mobile, some of them are PC. A lot of them are built in Unity. But they're massive projects. So one, it's hard to define what a AAA title is in the to begin with. Two, large and small projects is also something that is very relative and subjective. Three, every project is different. Bidney says AAA means budget, not visuals. Well, if you have a giant budget, it says something. It says a lot about your visuals. So if you have a massive budget and your visuals suck, can you even call that a AAA game? Well, it's a failed AAA game. So you're not going to separate budget completely from the visuals. So I would disagree. And again, AAA is a term that's very loose. I mean, I even see indie game developers coming to my Discord server and calling their own game AAA titles. I mean, it's just a term that's so widely used and so loosely defined. But I'm just giving you my feel, my own little opinion when I hear the word AAA. Anything that falls short of the latest graphics, I don't think deserves a AAA title. That's what I think. Another counterexample is there's massive Chinese projects that look super shitty and they're super outdated, but they're just massive purely because of their audience. And their budget is bigger than most games that exist. Are those AAA titles? I would say no, but you can say yes. I mean, again, it's very loose. It's hard to give you a clear definition. But again, when you tell me something is a AAA game, immediately I start thinking of Battlefield. I really loved Battlefield back in It was Battlefield 3 and 4. Man, I love Battlefield 3 so much. And going back to one of the earlier questions, what inspired me to become a game developer? I think EA back in the 90s was really inspiring. I don't know if you guys played NBA 97, 98, FIFA 97, 98. I also played NFL 97, 98. Wait, I'm not even sure if I'm getting these years right. There's just so many of them. And it's been so long. But mostly I played FIFA, NBA. I also played a bit of... Oh, NHL. Oh, I'm getting all these letters wrong. I didn't play NFL. I played NHL. Just because there was a fighting mechanic. There was a... It was like a fighting game within a sports game. That was really interesting. Back then, I really loved playing EA games. Good morning, Backbench. Welcome. We're headed towards the end of the stream, so I'm just blabbing stuff. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed EA games. It was one of those things that inspired me to become a game developer back in the 90s. I mean, I've always wanted to become a game developer since the 90s, but then the year that I actually decided that I'm gonna pursue that was like 2000 10, 12. Anyways, Kobe says, was the NHL game an N64 game? No, it was for PC. Let me Google this. I think it was NHL 96, 7? Let me look up 96. Let me also look at 97. They all look so similar. Holy shit. I think it... I don't know. There was a fighting mechanic that was really interesting. Like, I cared more about fighting than the actual hockey thing. Yeah, check this out. I'm not sure if this is it. Oh no, this is 2K. Okay, I think it's NHL 96. Look at this thing. I don't recognize this graphics. Maybe 98. Let me try 98. Yeah, this looks more like it. So I think it was NHL 98. But again, I can't be too sure. There's just so many versions of this. So my brother and I were playing this game for the first time. And and all of a sudden the game turns into a fighting game, and we literally started screaming. We enjoyed it so much back then. Bindi says, how many games you've shipped? Bigger titles, 2. Smaller titles, a lot. But probably the biggest title that I shipped was a local South Korean. It was a mobile game. It was an MMO. But that was a long time ago. Kobe says, yes, my buddies and I, we would play it just to fight each other. Yeah, this was... I remember, I think this game also had fighting stats. Which was really interesting. Backbench says, do you think sports game art? Oh, do you think sports games are hard to code? Yeah, I think they're extremely hard to code. Very, very hard. Because sports... there's so many little details when it comes to your human, because you're mostly dealing with human body movement. You're not dealing with guns. You're not dealing with a giant hammer. You're not dealing with the massive combat scene where the details sort of get watered down. You're dealing with a very specific human muscle and bone, and the movements that come from that. I think those kind of physics are really hard to express in a video game. And I really enjoyed playing NBA 96, 97, 98. Look at this thing. Wait, maybe it was 97. I don't know. I practically played every EA sports game whenever it came out. Look at this thing. Look at the graphics. Look at this thing. Oh shit, I shouldn't play YouTube videos while I'm streaming. But yeah, sports games are really hard. The physics is especially hard. But it's not just sports games. I mean, any kind of video game where trying to express something that exists in real life in detail, that becomes really difficult, right? I mean, even the physics of hitting somebody with a giant hammer, the physics of that, once you get into the details, becomes really hard. So bouncing the basketball on a court and running with it is another sort of thing that becomes really difficult. I haven't played any recent game, but back then the ball would just stick to the player, and it would look really awkward. The ball would just fly into a player's hand like there's some sort of a magnetic force. It's just going in there. Backbench says EA before all microtransactions and loot box was cool. Yeah. I mean, EA back in the 90s was, again, I grew up playing EA games. I really loved it. At some point, they became a giant corporation that just didn't care about their own games. Like the recent Microsoft Activision thing. Like, if you look at the guy, what's the guy's name? Forgot his name. Activision CEO. Like this guy is like this guy's like a board of directors for Coca-Cola or something. Like this guy is not a gamer. He doesn't care about video games. I'm not even sure if this guy even plays any video game. Does Bobby Kotick play video games? So this guy says I play video games. I don't believe him. I mean, this guy is pretty much a politician at this point. When you're a director or when you're a board member for giant corporations, you're not a game developer. Or maybe you are, but you're more of a politician at that point. Amanda Block says here in Australia, a semi-big game did. A cricket game was terrible, obviously due to lack of resources. Yeah, I also remember the cricket games. Look at these things. Kobe says, hands down, best basketball game, NES Double Dribble. If it's more complicated, then that it's a no-go for me. Oh, I remember there was this arcade video game. It was like a 3-on-3 basketball game, and then you had like ultimate moves that light your ball on fire or something. I can't tell if it was from the 90s or the 80s. Yeah, it was this game. What is this thing called? Yeah, you get the countries. What was the name of this game? I absolutely love this. Bobby says, yes, difficult to code because people know how it should look and react. Players have pre-expectations. Yeah. But... oh, NBA Jam. That was also really interesting. Holy shit. We're having a trip down the memory lane. Oh, this. Oh, you know what? There was another game that I played. It was a DOS game. Yeah, this thing. Yeah, Lakers versus Celtics. Oh, I absolutely love this. I played this in the 90s. Back then, the video game life cycle was much longer. Like today, most video games don't even last a month. But back then, like you would have games that last 10 years. Like you literally grew up with the game. Well, the game doesn't grow, but you grow up playing a game for years and years. Good old days. What is this? Is this a new version? Huh. Wait. I guess this is just the box, not the actual game graphics. I guess there's different versions. Interesting games. So yeah, once you get to a point where you have a CEO that is more of a politician than a game developer, at that point, I'm done with you. Like, it doesn't mean that you cannot ship a decent product, but most likely no, I would say. These days, I'm more interested in smaller studios. So recently, I played The Ascent. I think I unlocked almost everything in that game. At least the Steam... what do you call those things? Rewards? Forgot the name for it. But that game I really, really enjoyed. And it was not... I think it was a relatively big studio compared to like indies where you're working with 1 or 2 people. But definitely it was not... it wasn't a giant EA game or anything. Choo Choo Charles? Never heard of it. Let me Google that. Choo Choo... I see Choo Choo Charlie. Oh, this game! Are you talking about the train game? Some random bloke? Because if you're talking about this game... wait, Choo Choo Charles? Oh, I guess you're talking about this? Some random books. It seems that indie games can go viral by making them super weird and unique. Yeah, that's the thing about indie games. You get to do whatever the fuck you want. If you're small enough and you don't have... and you're not answering to anybody. What is this? Okay. I guess you're referring... I mean, I played several train games. I played a game where you're solving math problems, and that sort of moves your train. I've also played games where you're setting tracks. I don't remember any of the titles. Bobby says generally knockoff games by indies are not as good as the AAAs that inspire them. Maybe. Maybe. Let me try to think of a knockoff that I really enjoyed. But it's hard to say because pretty much every video game that we play today has been inspired by something that was really popular in the past. Pretty much any FPS game is a knockoff of Doom or Quake or Wolfenstein or even Hover Tank. There was a really early FPS game called Hover Tank. Am I getting the title right? Yeah, I mean... But mods are pretty much a knockoff. People don't really... Well, never mind. I was gonna say people don't really play mods anymore, but that's not right. I should say I don't play mods anymore. Yeah. I think there's a very subtle line between a knockoff and something that you're inspired by and you're building on that idea. I really enjoyed Saints Row back when people called that a knockoff to GTA. I can only think of Action Quake right now. That's one of my all-time favorites. Oh, the entire Dota and League of Legends, those were pretty much knockoffs. I mean, I'm just throwing shit in there. Weren't they used to be played on use map settings or something like that? Like somebody made a use map setting game from a AAA title that was already there, and then eventually it turned into things like Dota or something. And I'm completely butchering this, so when you're listening to me, keep in mind that you're listening to an indie game developer that just says whatever the fuck he wants to say. PS5 Saints Row has gone woke? Really? I mean, I haven't played Saints Row for so long. Let me Google that shit. PS5 Saints Row. What is this? I mean, pretty much almost every big title has gone woke. Again, it's one of the reasons why I'm playing games from smaller studios more recently. Is because smaller studios they tend to care more about the actual game mechanics than the politics. There's also smaller studios that go full woke, but But whenever somebody tries to fucking lecture me through a video game on stupid shit like inclusivity, I just want to kill people in a video game. Okay, I don't want politics. Okay, I want to blow shit up in a video game. I don't care whether the people that I'm killing in a video game are black, purple, orange, yellow, white, green. Stop giving me a lecture on those things. Black Prince is making good, enjoyable mobile games without annoying ads. Interesting. Oh, Gary's mod. Oh, some random book says apparently Walkie's coming to South Korea. It's not coming, it's here. It's here, it's not just coming. It's everywhere. No, it's not a Western thing. It's here, man. So South Korea follows the US politics down to a T. Everything that happens in the US pretty much happens in South Korea as well. Some random bloke says Koreans went to the US universities and came home to South Korea. Now they're spreading wokeness. That's not... Well, that happens, but that's not the only reason. So just like America, we have the counterparts to the Democrats and the Republicans. It works exactly the same. Everything that the American Democrats say, there's a Korean version of them. So we have Korean version of Trump, we have Korean versions of Biden, we have Korean versions of Obama. It's exactly the same. I don't know if these guys are taking orders from China or US. Most likely they are, because they're just following everything that they do. Oh, we have guns. I mean, okay, here's the thing about guns. So a civilian is not allowed to own a gun, but every South Korean male is a trained soldier. Pretty much every South Korean male, from 18 to something like 20, early 20s, has to learn how to shoot an M16, or more recently it's K2. But I shot M16s when I was in the military. So I'm I don't have an M16, obviously. That's a military standard weapon. And every South Korean lives in an apartment. Almost every South Korean lives in an apartment. So it's not a good place for rifles. But why not? I mean, I'm pretty radical. I'm not like most other South Koreans. I do believe in having guns or any kind of weapon that you can defend yourself with. Backbench says, how popular is BTS in Korea? It is getting very popular in India nowadays. Cult following. I think they're big. I don't follow those things. I would say they're really popular. I just don't know anything about them. Some random bloke says, do Korean want open borders? So this is exact same thing as what's happening in America. There's Korean Democrats that want completely open borders, and then there's a more conservative people that say you can't do that. I mean, so we have Chinese people coming in. We also have refugees coming in. Some random bloke says South Korea needs to up its birth rate. You're losing 50% of your population every generation. I don't care. I don't care about my own country. I don't care about my government. I care about me. Backpin says India is able to repel a lot of wokeness due to being the world's oldest civilization. Some values are still ingrained in our minds that help us fight new ideas from West. I don't think wokeness is from the West. I don't... Well, this is just my personal opinion from a guy who knows nothing. I think wokeness comes from China. My friend from Ohio came to visit and tried to bring woke with him. We sent him home. How do you send him home? Tell him to go home? Why does he listen to you? Indian leftists always defend Muslims. Extreme individualism has come to South Korea. Okay, so some random book says the worst parts of the West have been imported to South Korea. Okay. I think there's a giant piece that you're not talking about. So South Korea as a nation came to be out of the Korean War, where the Russians took over North and the Americans took over South. And even to this day, Korean's military base, basically Korea's version of Pentagon, much smaller, they share the same walls as the US Army that is in Seoul. Like, if you look at the map, like, the walls that guard the central military command for South Korea shares the same walls as the US military that's there. Meaning we take orders from them, basically. So nothing's imported. It has always been there. So everything in America, it's not exactly imported. It has always been there since the beginning. And South Korea as a nation has sort of diverged away more and more from that route. But way back in the beginning, the Americans trained South Korean soldiers, and then those South Korean soldiers became government, and then I don't know what happened from there. Some random books in South Korea went from one of the poorest countries in the world to one of the richest. In a generation, you used to have 6 babies per woman. Yeah. Yeah. So when I was growing up, the country was pretty poor. Today, I feel like it's pretty rich. Like, the South Korea that I grew up in is very different from the South Korea that I'm living in right now. And the South Korea that my grandpa grew up in is also a completely different nation. So the South Korea that my grandpa lived in is comparable to Somalia in terms of GDP. Today it's obviously a completely different place. Backman says China is very anti-woke. I would say China is anti-woke towards other countries. I mean, it's a typical country, a typical strategy. You don't want wokeness for yourself. You want wokeness for everybody else, while you get all the resources. It's like equilibrium, right? Nobody's allowed to do anything except for the guy at the top. It's hypocrisy at its core. Backbench says US provide nuclear umbrella to South Korea. US has a lot of influence in South Korea after Korean War. Yeah. US still has a lot of control. It's not just influence. It's actually written into the military. I don't know that. I'm not sure if I know the term for it. So if South Korea wanted to bomb another country, they would have to get permission from the US government first. The US military, not necessarily the government. I don't know the details, but I don't know how we went from video games to South Korea and America. So Equilibrium is a great movie. And I would say that's not even a movie, it's a fucking documentary. Okay, you look at what's going on today, Equilibrium is a documentary. So you look at all these politicians and quote leaders. Like again, this is just my personal opinion. No world leader is actually socialist. Every world leader that you heard of is a full-on capitalist that loves BMWs and Mercedes, and they send their kids to American private schools. They're full-on capitalists down to their bones, but then their policies are always socialist. So it's like Equilibrium. That's a documentary. So what you promote is completely different from what you live. So for example, North Korea is pretty much the most socialist nation in the world, but it's also the most capitalist. It's got the most capitalist leader of all time. So Kim Jong-un grew up watching. I think I'm exactly the same age as Kim Jong-un. We grew up watching the Chicago Bulls. We grew up watching MTV. He grew up liking Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan. It's Equilibrium. It's exactly the same thing. Give me any socialist country that does not have a capitalist leader. Yeah, exactly. Some random bloke says Bernie Sanders is a multimillionaire. I don't think he's a multimillionaire. I think isn't he? Doesn't he own millions and millions, which would probably equal at least $1 billion? I have no idea. But a lot of these politicians have their assets hidden away, as with any other rich people. So right now, the South Korean president is an extreme hard leftist, but then his kid is American educated. He drives in Ferraris. He gets all the government money and he spends it in, you know, all those expensive cars and houses and what kind of Marxist drives in a Ferrari? Well, I guess every Marxist dream is to drive a Ferrari. Because as far as I know, I don't know anything, but as far as I understand it, isn't it the Marxist idea that the rich people are somehow taking shit away from the poor people? And that's the reason why they're rich? I think that's the general idea. They haves and have-nots. But all the Marxists in South Korea, they all have mansions. They have billions of dollars. So what they preach is completely different from what they live. And which is why I say when you look at countries like China, which I'm very close to, which I fear every day, like China is anti-woke inside, but what they promote is completely woke. Backbench says India is now moving slowly away from socialism to capitalism. Still, socialism is present in medical services and providing basic necessities. But market growth is above 9% every year now. Wow. Your market growth is above 9% every year. That's crazy. I mean, India is a giant country with a lot of people, so... I think historically, India has always not liked the Chinese, disliked the Chinese, I think. There's border issues, there's religion that are not compatible. But I don't know anything about India to say anymore. Colby says, so what I am gathering is we need to pull together and bury an island or planet and only allow game devs and their families to live there. Game jams every day. Who's gonna grow the food when everybody's a game developer? I think game developers can only live in cities. I can't produce anything. I can't build anything. What am I saying? I'm just saying so much random shit right now. And it's got nothing to do with game dev. So going back to the original topic that this channel was intended for, I just want to build my own video games and mind my own business. But there's also these politicians and hypocrites that kind of prevent me from doing that. DoorDash. Okay. I mean, that's how I'm living right now. I mean, it's not called DoorDash in South Korea, it's called something else, but it's the same thing. I sit home, I order food, I sit down and I work on my video game. That's literally all I do. I don't do anything else. And it's cold right now, so usually if it's not so cold, I would do a little bit of jogging. Just because I think I need at least a little bit of movement other than sitting down and typing. Backbench says, we gave Chinese culture and religion. China and India was historically very friendly, but after they invaded Tibet and started border conflicts, we are now kind of enemies. Okay. I'm just gonna take your word for it. So I guess that's been happening recently. India is very anti-communist. Okay. Again, I know nothing about India. But if you are the enemy of my enemy, you're a friend. So I hate China for very practical reasons. Chinese people killed South Korean police officers and they just walk. Nothing happens to them. So if a Chinese person kills a South Korean in Seoul, pretty much nothing happens. You're just dead. And there's also a part of Seoul, the city where I live in. There's a part of Seoul where I would have to fear for my life if I spoke Korean there, which is crazy. It's got Chinese landlords and everything. It's got Chinese signs. It's also one of the most dangerous parts of the city. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that I have to fear for my life speaking my own language in the city that I grew up in. So those are my reasons. And if you're the enemy of my enemy, you're a friend. Random bloke says, game dev, I would more worry about Pakistan. They have nuclear weapons. I mean, there's a lot of things that you should be worried about. North Koreans have nuclear weapons. China has nuclear weapons, and I live right next to them. The good thing is that if war does break out, I'm too old now, so they're not even gonna give me weapons anymore. Which is good. I'm just gonna fucking run away if I could. I don't care. I just want to build video games. Colby says, I went to I went to Koreatown in LA. Great food, felt safe. Yeah, Koreatown is a different story. Koreatown in America is probably very different from Seoul. Koreans generally are not criminals, I would say. It's been less. I mean, if you've talked to a South Korean that grew up in the 50s and the 60s, they're really tough people. But if you're talking about Koreans that grew up in the 80s and 90s, like I did, we're pretty soft. Backbench says a resistance will rise in Pakistan, and a few decades it would not be a single country. Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about regarding India and Pakistan. I don't know anything. But I think Koreans and Japanese really hate the Chinese. I mean, historically, we've been fighting for a long time. But Koreans, a lot of Koreans also hate Japan for political reasons. They're just brainwashed. So it's like a little triangle of war. But I'll say this. Even though South Korea does not allow guns, everybody pretty much is a soldier that knows how to shoot guns. And if I were given the right to defend myself against the Chinese, I would embrace that. Goodbye, Bidney. Good luck with your game. Yeah. But again, most of the time I just want to build my own video games and sit in my own little room and mind my own business. But once you start invading that space, you know, that's when I get pissed off. Like, a lot of the things are happening today that piss me off. Especially recently, there's been a lot of things that kind of prevent me from being who I am and who I have always been. Usually I don't even care about politics. I don't even care. Usually I hate all politicians, most of them. Like if you have power, if you have money to influence other people, most likely I'm not going to listen to you. So that's my stance. Backbench says Chinese tried a lot to fight us, but their soldiers has to face Himalayan terrain, cold and high mountains. Yeah, geography plays a big part in everything, I would say. Kobe says you're pulling enough money to only have to work on your games. Not really. I have money saved up from my previous job. I also made decent money from Bitcoin. My family also has some money, so all those things add up. But it's pretty tight. I mean, the budget, I'm running on an extremely tight budget here. But if I didn't have any of those other things, no, definitely not. I would definitely not have enough money to work on my own game only and do nothing else. But that's the dream, right? That's like every indie game developer's dream, to be able to work on your own game, not answer to anybody, just do your own stuff and live life and be able to pay the bills. If you can do that, like, that's a dream. That's a dream job. It's not just a dream job, that's a dream life. At least to me. And this goes with what I've been saying. And I say this because a lot of people get into game development, I think, because they just want the money and they like video games. But if you had $1 billion, what would you do? Like, if I had $1 billion, I would sit home and make video games. Just fucking order food every day and exercise when I have some free time. But most of the time, if I have complete freedom and if I had fuck you money, I would work on my own video game. And I think if you don't like being a game developer that much, I don't think it's worth it. Like there's a lot better ways to make money, right? I mean, I used to make a lot more money than being a game developer. You can probably make more money having multiple part-time jobs. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm sorry, that's just not true. It might be true if you compare to an indie game developer that just works by himself like I do. Kobe says, yes, the dream. I would rather work on what I want, making ends meet, than having more than enough money, but being miserable doing something that means very little. Yeah, I was completely miserable. And I say I still have damage from working in a cubicle. That sounds extremely snowflakey, but it's all related to stress. When you get stressed so much, I used to sleepwalk. I could barely get any sleep, and when I did get some sleep, I used to sleepwalk because I would get so much stress. I would be completely dead on the weekends. Like and this was before I became a game developer. I had a typical cubicle job working in a giant Korean corporation. It was completely meaningless. I was just crunching numbers all day on a spreadsheet. They paid me pretty nicely. I wasn't rich or anything, but it was decent money. Enough for me to enjoy, the good things in life, the good things in capitalism. But it was definitely not worth it. I used to work Monday to Friday, and then when I came home, I would be completely dead on Saturday and Sunday, and then I would repeat the same thing over and over again. You get overweight, and not just physically, mentally, you get weaker and weaker every day. You know, it's horrible. It's definitely not worth it. Some random bloke says, do you make any money from game dev? Not a lot. Close to nothing, I would say. YouTube ad revenue is close to nothing for me. There's also a blog that I have that gives me some blockchain revenue, but that's also very little. But the aspect I like about being an indie game developer that makes YouTube videos, it opens more opportunities. So people look at the channel and they see they see something they like. That leads to me being able to get certain opportunities that I probably wouldn't have been able to if I weren't making any YouTube videos. And some of those things might be completely irrelevant to game dev. Kobe says, think about Warcraft 1, the guy that made it. There's no way they're running Activision's business. They totally hire that out. Yeah, once you have the dev love, it's very consuming. I mean, once you have a giant corporation, it's nothing stopping a corporation from being a corporation. It's pretty sad, but just how things work, I guess. So back to your questions, some random bloke. I made a lot more money talking about games than actually selling anything. I think that's pretty accurate. But again, I'm just talking about me. You might have a completely different story depending on, you know, what kind of person you are, what kind of developer you are, what kind of career you had or have. So everything I say is just an anecdote, one example. I don't think anybody would think this way, but just in case, don't think that what I do is pretty much the only way. It's not, obviously. But my general recommendation has always been learn C++, learn some of the technology, and then do whatever the fuck you want. My recommendation is don't do something just because you think it's going to give you money. Kobe says, what kind of camera do you use for your videos? For screen capture, it's just screen capture. For the camera that you see right now, that's just a camera that's been lying around in my home. My wife bought it like a couple of years ago or last year. It's some Sony camera that I can't even tell you the name of the model. I think it was let me Google that. Oh, so Sony A6400s? What is this? Yeah, I think it's this. Sony Alpha A6000 6400. How do you even read this thing? Mirrorless camera, compact, APS-C. What does that mean? Sorry, I can barely answer your question. It's a mirrorless camera. Whatever that means. Anyways, I think I'm gonna... I've been talking so much random shit. I think I should end the stream at this point. But before I go, let me try to... let me try to think of what I should be doing tomorrow. So I'm surprised that the colliders are working for the sidewalks. I just have to continue on, import more buildings and more props. I could import things like the fences, the walls, the little alleys here. Yeah, this looks really interesting. So I'll probably import these things. Yeah, I guess I'll just have to continue with the level design. Kobe says, I usually get caught up over engineering everything to make a general solution. Yeah, I guess I do that too sometimes. Just think too much, but sometimes I would say, and I've been feeling like this more and more recently, after I realized that whatever I put online, I cannot control the outcome. I just kind of stopped giving a fuck, or I try not to give a fuck anymore about a lot of things that I used to care about. I would say I just want to do rather than think. But that's just me. I think, especially these days, when there's so many things to do, so many different options, I think it's just worth trying something out rather than overanalyzing. Yeah, okay. Kobe says, what are you making? Obviously an FPS. I'm thinking more of an old school deathmatch kind of thing. So I'm not gonna try to go for something way too epic. I'm thinking more of Quake style deathmatch, free for all, battle royale kind of thing. But when I say battle royale, I'm thinking of more of deathmatch old school 90s rather than the PUBG style battle royale that you see today. So that's just the general direction. I think Quake 2 would be the right anchor for something like this. So you might have a bunch of pickups, weapons, I should say. You might have a bunch of weapons that you can pick up, some grenades or some augmentations that might give you a speed boost or something, or some sort of an ultimate skill move that you can execute and use that to your advantage. So pretty much the only difference well, not the only difference, but it's heavily Quake 2 inspired, but the graphics would be modern, the weapons would be modern, which is like Action Quake. Kobe says, makes sense. I think you're saying it makes sense. When I decided I want to do, I started using Unity instead of rolling my own, but then found new ways to over-engineer Unity. Okay. And I'm gonna say this again. When you decide that you just want to do, try C++ and then Unity. Again, you're probably getting sick of the same things that I say over and over again, but so anyways, even more than Quake 2, I think I'm heavily inspired by Action Quake 2. It's a very old game. So if you look at any of these Action Quake 2 videos, I think you'll get a good sense of what I'm trying to build. Obviously, I'm not trying to go for the exact same thing. I'm planning to add additional stuff on top of this general idea. But Colby says C++ in DirectX years ago. That's good. That's awesome. I might even completely ditch Unity at some point, just because there's so many people that are just looking for shortcuts. I don't know if that's gonna happen, when that's gonna happen, I have no idea. But anyways, that's it. Thanks guys for coming. I really appreciate it. Oh, hold on. Colby says, have you ever made a level in Counter-Strike? I didn't make a level. I wrote scripts. I wrote things like burst fire, custom zoom, some cheat codes for you to run faster, jump higher, some bots. I wasn't all that concerned with the levels themselves, but I also played a lot of custom levels. Custom levels with cars in them, with trains in them. Some had armored vehicles. Again, all this is coming from the mods. era where you had different mods and people would come up with all these different skins and maps and stuff. But anyways, this yeah, so I think when you consider all those things and sort of fit that into the project that I'm working on, I think you'll get a pretty good idea, just the big picture of what I'm trying to do. All right, so thanks guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.